It's long overdue that we talk about the topic of something called usage-based insurance, UBI, and telematics. These are the software programs. I've got probably over 1 million views in general on this topic with different insurance companies. So what is a UBI or a telematics software or device? It's essentially something that tracks your driving in exchange for a discount. If you drive low mileage, you have to prove that now. You can't just take pictures of the odometer anymore, where they now want to download an app and follow your driving and see how many miles you drive. If you say you're a good driver, okay, prove it. Let's see how well you brake, how fast you accelerate. What time of the day do you drive? A lot of people don't realize that's one of the higher risks. When you're driving past midnight and 5 a.m., that window is riskier for insurance. My only assumption is that there's more deaths or more drunk drivers on the road at that time, even though there's less drivers. There's more risk of getting injured. It's not the number of claims, it's the severity of claims that causes that risk to go up. On top of it, what locations are you driving to? So that's where people start to get a little bit, whoa, wait a minute. Am I driving to the gas station and back? And they want to know that. How many, it's tied to mileage in general, but it's the commute. Am I going different locations? There are policies. The old style of insurance was based off of 3 pieces. It was you're either pleasure use, which is just retired usually, or a homemaker, or just not working, you're driving to the grocery store and back every so often, right? Low mileage typically falls in play there, but in general, you're just using the car for personal. There's commuting, which is driving to and from a location, is to and from one work site. So I drive to work, I come home. I drive to work, I might go to the gas station, come home. You've got that typical drive, and that is a little bit more of a risk than pleasure use. Then you have the business use, which is maybe a construction worker. I drive to this site today, I drive to that site tomorrow. Next week I drive downtown, and that's gonna be a higher risk, so that partial occupation, but mostly just the use of it. If I'm a realtor, I'm gonna have that business use, and I'm claiming that as the reason I'm using my vehicle. So those pieces can play factors, and there's actually farm use and there's other uses, but those are the main 3 that you're gonna think of. At least 99% of the time, those are gonna be one of the 3 that you're gonna use. The biggest question you're gonna ask is it worth it? Am I gonna share my data? What rights am I giving up? And how much am I gonna save? First thing, which most people are curious, is how much am I gonna save? Likely gonna save 10% flat off the beginning. Most companies give you an instant 10% discount. That's the incentive to get you going, especially if you don't like the price. Well, we can turn this on. Boom, you get 10% off right now. If you prove that you're a better driver, you can get up to 40% off. So what does that do to your policy? Let's take a $300 a month policy and play that out. So $300 a month, 10%, you're saving $30 a month, boom, like that. If you do really good, and let's just say you get 20% off and not even the 40, you're now saving $60 a month. That's impactful. That is helpful. For other policies, I've gotten 30 some odd % off on mine, and that saved us like $600. Now the rates have changed a little bit, so I'm still saving a lot of money on it, but I'm also paying a lot more because of the different things that have changed. Which brings us to the 2 ways that you can have a telematics. Now, most of them are gonna be on your cell phone. It's an app, whether it's Geico, Progressive, Safeco, State Farm, Allstate, they all have their names, DriveWise, Snapshot, all of the different things that you call them. You're gonna download that app, okay? That app's gonna go on your phone. It's gonna use your navigation, at least the software, the same stuff that use your navigation to track the driving. It knows when you start fast. It knows when you brake fast. And if you trust your phone, which honestly, that's pretty accurate, you just gotta be careful, because if you're touching your phone, if you're constantly handing your phone to your kids, it's not gonna work. You need something else that doesn't constantly get bounced around, because it's using the phone to track the data and send it back. There's another way, which I prefer if possible, for those that have what's called an OBD2 plugin. That's what the mechanic plugs into your car. It's usually under your dash, under the driver's side. You just plug in a device. That device will communicate with satellite or whatever and let them know, but it reads the computer of your car to know how fast you accelerate, to know how you brake. The beauty of that one is it's not gonna track speed, which it usually doesn't in either of them, but it's not going to track you using your phone. So if your kids are playing on your phone, or if you're playing on your phone while you're driving, watching the YouTube video right now while you're driving down the road, if that's the case, then it's not going to track that part of it. So the distractive driving is not going to play a factor, where on the phone it can. You'll have to talk to a local agent to find out if that they offer it for your vehicle. By the way, if you are shopping for new insurance, I've got a link in the description below where you can do a quote with an independent agent. We shop multiple different companies. We can check to see if there's better fits. If you are thinking of doing the UBI or the telematics like I've done, yeah, you can save $600-700 depending on the policy and your driving habits. But the link is in the description below. Feel free to fill it out. So that's great. I get a huge discount. That's nice. All of the things, I don't mind. But honestly, what am I giving up? What data am I giving to these companies? And how safe is what they say to be true? This is hard to debate because you can tell me in the comments below. I'd love to hear if anyone has had any positive or negative experiences with it. I'd be very curious. There are a few select companies that use the data, and they'll say right on their website, against you. They don't say against you because obviously they're not going to word it that way, but if you get in an accident, they can pull the data and see that you're speeding. Most of them don't do that. So I would say there's a few select companies that do use that, and some of them share the data. For example, let's use AAA as an example. They're a very common company to get insurance through, but they take all of their data. They don't use your name, they don't use your personal info, but they take it, and that's where we get a lot of reports from. The average driving for Thanksgiving, it's usually a AAA report, or the average driving for this. There's now a company called Insurify. There's other companies that are starting to do statistical data, which is super helpful and beneficial. That's how I make some of these videos. I get the data and I explain it to you and let you understand in normal terms, not the complicated insurance talk. But in general, you got to be a little bit careful there. So there is some possibility of them using the data against you in a claim. Most of them are only 90 days, which is the perfect scenario, and that's what I did. The only reason I did ours is because they get my data for 90 days. Once it's done, I can delete the app, I can shut them off, I can block them from anything I want, I can unplug the device, mail it back, they'll charge you for it. It's a device, they paid for it. Once it's done, and then you get your discount. That's the best way to do it, and I'd say most of the companies lean towards that. The wording on their websites is too complicated. Actually, in the article that I read here, they talked about hiring a claims lawyer that goes through the legality claims and things like that and all of the terms claims lawyer. And it's complicated even there. It said it's too confusing where you have to call the company and ask them specific questions to find out what they mean. And I found that to be true when I researched many of these companies. I've checked Nationwide's, I've checked State Farms, I checked Allstate, I've checked Progressive, I tested Progressive. I've done Safeco, that's the company that I did it with. And I've gone through a lot of those, and there's several videos on this channel if you want to check them out. But the descriptions that they have on there kind of leave it open. It's almost like when you go on a commission structure and you're getting paid based off a commission. You notice at the bottom it says subject to change at any point. What they're saying in there where they'll never use your data, but they'll probably find a way to use it. They have words that say it. Honestly, I would say if you're willing to give up the data, which I would say 9 out of 10 of you are, I'm willing to give it up because at this point, I don't know what my phone's tracking anyways. You pretty much got to get rid of your cell phone just to know that you're not being tracked. Technology has gone that way. The only benefit is I haven't seen a company not say that they won't use your information, personal information. So your name, your age, your ethnicity, all of the things, if they collect that at any point, they usually don't use that. So it's not you in general that they're using, it's the profile of you, so to speak. I guess my only fear is the last piece, which is something that we've seen in the news before. So remember when Apple came out and there was a crime and Apple was supposed to unlock a phone and they refused and the government had to fight them and they had to hack it. And it was great because I actually like the fact that Apple didn't do the data, even though I wish they would for a crime. It's similar in this scenario where, okay, can the government subpoena for a crime? Most of them say yes, at least the ones I've read, and you'll have to decide, okay, if you're a criminal, don't do it. I guess it's not going to work out for you. But in general, you're opening the doors to say, here it is. That's why the 90-day ones are great because you can do them, cut them off, shut them off, and you're done. There are other ones that consistently go and you get better discounts. So the one I'm on, I could keep it going. And if I do better over the next year, I get a bigger discount. So that's even nicer to have, but I just shut it off. Honestly, I'm not a fan of being tracked, but that's just something you have to decide for yourself. Let me know what your thoughts are. Let me know in the comments below. Again, if you're shopping, put a link in the description. If you want to let me know, should this be allowed? Is this something you would be interested in? Have you done it before? What was the result that you've gotten? There are a few companies that raise the rates. Most of them don't, so I didn't really go into depth on that. If you're interested in one of the telematics, I've got them all over this channel. I'm Mark with Think Insurance. I'll see you in the next one.